In the summer of 1981, a Jeep broke down on a dusty road outside Gurgaon, a nowhere town with no skyline, no industry, and power cuts so routine that people stopped noticing the dark. The man behind the wheel was Rajiv Gandhi, future Prime Minister of India, and the man who walked over to help was KP Singh, a former cavalry officer turned real estate developer for a company called DLF, Delhi Lease and Finance, that no government had yet agreed to fund. That roadside encounter, one overheated engine, one conversation, became the founding legend of a private city that would eventually house the headquarters of Google, Microsoft, and American Express. You live in a world where the infrastructure beneath your feet was built by a company, not a country, and that company is still expanding. Today, DLF is targeting $2.5 billion in sales bookings for the financial year 2026, and the model they are selling is not just apartments. It is sovereignty, which is the power of a government to rule itself. The legal architecture that made this possible was not invented in a boardroom. It was written into law in 1975, when the state of Haryana passed the Haryana Development and Regulation of Urban Areas Act, Act 8 of 1975. Section 2(d) of that act created a legal category called the colonizer. Not a builder, not a developer, a colonizer, a private entity granted the official legal power to perform functions that, in every other democracy on earth, belong exclusively to elected governments. The word was chosen by legislators, not by DLF. The law did not hide what it was doing. It named it. DLF became a colonizer. The state stepped back. KP Singh, 94 years old in early 2026, military posture still intact, silver hair above a charcoal suit, built what that law permitted him to build. He did not petition the government for roads. He did not wait for a municipal water board. He did not apply for a fire department. He constructed one. DLF City today operates its own private metro line and its own fire stations, and the residents who live inside its boundaries do not pay municipal taxes to any elected body. They pay maintenance fees, directly, contractually, without a ballot, to the corporation. The profit margins on those fees are shielded from public view. This is not a gated community with a security guard and a swimming pool. The scale is different. The legal basis is different. The 1975 Act did not create a homeowners association. It created a legal tool to take control, a mechanism by which a private entity could absorb the civic functions of a city and charge for them without democratic accountability. KP Singh did not exploit a loophole. He used the law exactly as written. That is the detail that makes this case worth understanding, not the corruption, but the absence of it. The machine was built legally. It ran legally. It still runs. The farmers of Gurgaon did not sell their land to DLF. That is the detail most accounts get wrong. Under the land pooling model that DLF deployed across 3,000 acres of Haryana farmland, the farmers were not buyers and sellers. They were made into stakeholders. DLF offered them not cash, but a share of what the land would become. Future plots inside a future city, a slice of urban appreciation that did not yet exist. It was a promise, denominated in a currency that had not been minted. The farmers signed, the land pooled, and the colonizer designation described in the 1975 Act gave DLF the legal instrument to convert that pooled land into a jurisdiction. No government bank financed what came next. to build an entire urban sector, roads, water mains, and power grids. The conventional path runs through the state. DLF did not take that path. In the early 1990s, they signed a lease with General Electric, GE. In finance, this was a corporate sovereign guarantee, a signature from a company with a balance sheet larger than many countries. That signature was worth more to lenders than any government stamp. It made the city self-sustaining before the first resident arrived. The state didn't fund this city. A corporation did. That credibility grew. By the start of 2026, DLF manages approximately 49 million square feet of office space across its portfolio, with a 96% occupancy rate. The tenants filling that space are Fortune 500 headquarters, regional hubs for companies whose combined revenues exceed the GDP, gross domestic product, the total value of everything a mid-sized country produces. Google operates here. Microsoft operates here. American Express operates here. Full buildings prove the plan worked. The colonizer did not need the state to build the city. He just needed one tenant. Everything else followed. This is the mechanism the 1975 Act made possible, but could never have anticipated. A law designed to regulate urban development created the legal container. A single corporate lease filled it with financial credibility. And 49 million square feet of occupied office space proved that the container could scale without limit, and without a government in the room. The colonizer did not need the state to build the city. The colonizer needed one tenant. Everything else followed. DLF is not selling apartments in 2026. The company's guidance for this financial year targets $2.5 billion in sales bookings, and the product is ultra-luxury gated enclaves, private communities so comprehensively self-contained that the residents inside them will interact with a DLF employee before they interact with any elected official, any municipal service, or any institution of the Indian state. The model that began with a legal designation in a 1975 Act has matured into a consumer product. They packaged the deletion of government and put a price tag on it. People are buying. In early 2026, DLF's market capitalization, the total value of all the company's shares, crossed $22 billion. That number requires a moment of stillness. $22 billion is the assessed value of a company whose core asset is not land, not buildings, not a technology platform. It is jurisdiction. It is the legally sanctioned right to perform the functions of a state inside a defined boundary and charge the people within that boundary for the privilege. The 1975 Act gave DLF the instrument. 40 years of compounding turned that instrument into this mountain of wealth. The farmers who signed the pooling agreements did not share in that number. By early 2026, DLF had reached a near-zero net debt position. A company that operates its own metro line, its own fire stations, its own road network, its own security apparatus, and its own revenue collection system. A company that performs every function a city government performs, owes almost nothing to any bank. It is financially sovereign. The state of Haryana, which licensed this arrangement under Act 8 of 1975, still runs on deficit financing. The colonizer is debt-free. The government that created the colonizer is not. Here is where this reaches you. The DLF model is not an Indian anomaly. It is a global template being studied, replicated, and refined in cities from Nairobi to Jakarta to the outer rings of London. Every time a government decides that private capital can build infrastructure faster than public institutions, it signs a version of the same agreement that KP Singh signed in Gurgaon. The maintenance fee replaces the municipal tax. The corporate security guard replaces the constable. The gated enclave replaces the neighborhood. And the profit margins on every one of those replacements, like the margins on DLF's maintenance fees, are shielded from public view. You do not get to audit the government that governs you, because it is not a government. The Jeep that broke down on that Gurgaon road in 1981 has never really been repaired. The political clearance it generated, the legal designation it unlocked, the city it built, the market value it produced, none of that entered the public record as a transaction between a citizen and a state. It entered the record as a private arrangement between a developer and a dynasty, ratified by a law that called itself, without embarrassment, the Colonizer. In early 2026, that law is still on the books. DLF's net debt is near zero, and the company's market value stands at roughly 22 times the annual infrastructure budget of the municipal authority it replaced. The law has not been revoked. Subscribe to Leviathan Files. The audit continues every week.